Mike Macdonald gets his first road game as Seattle Seahawks head coach this weekend in Foxborough. What is going on, everybody? Good morning. We are here on Saturday. We are here on the weekend. I think we should all be excited for that, if nothing else. A lot of good college football today. We'll be doing the, I guess you would kind of still call it the Apple Cup, even if it's not officially designated that anymore. A little bit later. Hope to see you guys there. Starts around 12:30. But before we get there, I got to talk about these Seahawks taking on these Patriots. That's right. Mike Macdonald gets an opportunity to win his first road game as head coach. Going to New England. It's a long flight. Not an easy trip to make. It's that 10 a.m. start. Not easy for a lot of teams to overcome. But you're getting a pretty reasonable challenge here. The New England Patriots, they look poised for one of those rebuilding years. I know they won in week one. I know there's some degree of optimism there, but realistically, this New England Patriot team is still trying to find their footing in the post-Belichick era. And maybe you could even argue in the post-Brady era. So all you got to do is make that flight, overcome that time zone difference, and get out there and beat the New England Patriots. And you've got your first road win. You've got a 2-0 start. And people are going to be feeling pretty good about things. Now, straight up, looking at the injury report from yesterday, I think that there needs to be a little bit of concern here. I think you need to be a little bit concerned as a Seahawks fan right now, because the way in which you might have expected this game to go might not be able to go like that. You might not be able to do what you wanted to do offensively in this game. You're missing your top running back, still missing your quote-unquote starting, but really backup right tackle. So you're already down to your third string over on that side. And you do the math, you look at the way the team played last week against Denver, you'd be correct to sit there and think, well, how are we going to move the ball? How are we going to score? How are we going to put up points? And the answer is maybe you won't. So the bottom line here is that if you want to take care of business here, if you want to win, the defense has to play like they played last week against Denver. And basically keep everything clean, make no mistakes, and you can still win. All right. Offensively, I don't really know what's going to be the strategy here. The good news is we got some other running backs on this team that can play. Charbonnet's a second-round pick. He's a good player. I know he didn't look so great last week against Denver, but he can do things. And the way this offensive line ran blocked last week, he should be able to get some stuff going. We'll finally get to see Kenny McIntosh in a game, I'm sure. Probably going to get to see some George Holani as well. So we're still going to be able to grind this out, but Walker provided a dimension that none of those guys do. Walker's the guy who can just randomly house it out of nowhere. Walker's the guy who can get a few extra yards consistently because of his top speed being so high. Walker has that playmaking ability to turn a 7-yard play into a 70-yard play. Charbonnet, no. He didn't do that in college. He doesn't do it in the pros. McIntosh, maybe a little bit, but realistically, he doesn't have the Ken Walker speed, and Holani certainly not. So that decreases the variance a little bit, right? That decreases, maybe it'll decrease the number of negative carries because Walker is a little bit of a boomer bust back sometimes, but he booms enough to where it's worth the busts. And Charbonnet, maybe he won't dance in the backfield as much, but you're looking at a game where you're really going to have to grind it out maybe 4 or 5 yards at a time. Maybe. Because we saw it against Denver. When it wasn't Walker out there, even with the superior run blocking of this offensive line in that second half, it was hard to get anything going without K9 out there. So you combine that with no Fant, no George Fant, your right tackle that you're counting on to be adequate until Abe Lucas gets back. And you've got Stone Forsythe out there who you know is not very good in pass protection. You've got two guards who played miserably in pass protection last week. You're thinking, okay, run the ball, right? We don't need to be challenging this Patriots defense when we can't pass block. They've got pass rushers on that team. They got Uche. They've got Keon White. They got a great number one cornerback in Christian Gonzalez. They should have a great safety tandem. So you're thinking, run the ball. Are you still thinking run the ball, even though you don't have K9? Little bit harder now, right? Excuse me. Little bit tougher to talk about running the ball now. So if the line has the issues that they've had with pass protection, like thinking about Stone Forsythe trying to block Keon White, that's not fun to imagine. Maybe Charles Cross can hold up against Uche, but if they isolate Forsythe against Keon White, bad things are going to happen. Can we afford to give him help? Right? We're down Pharaoh Brown, probably our best blocking tight end. So it's going to be tough to make headway against this Patriots defense. Now, they're missing some stuff too. They got some stuff that they're not too thrilled about right now. We've talked about Barmore, guys like Sione Takitaki, Marte Mapu. Those are guys who probably would have played a significant role for that team this year. They're currently not out there. Dugar, by the way, who might be their best player overall, might not play. I think he will probably play, but nothing's a guarantee. You got Jabril Peppers, who is less than 100%, but I'm sure he'll play. So you do the math. You think about things in your head. You think about the way that Denver game went. And yeah, points may be hard to come by. This might be a game where you might have to be happy with the Seahawks scoring 17 to 20 points. That might be considered a successful day. There's some things here that are working against you right now. And hopefully next week they won't matter because we'll have these guys back. But for the moment, you are going to be very dependent on Geno Smith playing an almost perfect game. And you're going to be dependent on pass protection just magically looking much better from week 1 to week 2. And I think that New England team has better pass rushers than the Broncos did. I think they got a little more gas up front right now, even with no Barmore. So, yeah, there's some reason to be concerned. So, Ryan Grubb, it is on you to figure out what's coming and how to deal with it. Teams have kind of figured out how to beat the Seahawks offensively. You blitz a lot. The Seahawks haven't yet shown they can handle the heavy blitzes teams like to send. Denver blitzed at an incredibly high rate last week, and it took us a while to have any kind of answer for it. And even then, I wouldn't say we necessarily had an answer for it that wasn't, oh, just run the ball a lot. So without your top back, now you're going to have to find a different answer. So that's the main thing I'm thinking about with this game. Ryan Grubb, time to earn your money, time to earn your credibility, time to earn respect in this league. Go out there, find a way to scheme something up that can beat the blitz. And if you can do that, maybe we'll be able to grind out enough points to where the other side of the ball doesn't really matter that much. But I am not expecting it. I'm not expecting it. I think they got a good secondary to counter our strength at receiver. I think that they got some things up with their pass rush that we can't handle. So to win this game, to get this win that I do think we ultimately will need, I'm looking at the defense. The defense had to play basically perfect football last week for us to have a secure win. And they did. Even when they finally gave up a touchdown. It took Denver so long to finally get in the end zone. By the time they got in, it barely mattered. The game was already basically over. And it felt like, it wasn't garbage time, but it felt like pseudo garbage time. And I wasn't even really stressing any part of that. So when you look at this Seahawks defense, you know they're capable of it. You are playing a Patriots offense that might have more concerns than that Denver offense. That New England offensive line is maybe the worst in the league. Especially right now, they've got some injuries. They've got their centers out for the season. Left guard is going to be out for this game. They've got back and forth at left tackle. They don't really know what they're doing over there. This is a dollar store offensive line. You dominated the game last week against a pretty good offensive line. That Denver offensive line is legit, and you toasted them. So you should be able to go out there on Sunday and take care of that the way the Bengals did. Because I know the Bengals lost, but they got pressure almost half of the snaps playing against the Patriots. So no Nwosu or no Nwosu is obviously still the case, but there is every reason why Jacoby Brissett should be running for his life. Why do you think Brissett's out there? Brissett is out there because Drake May would get murdered behind that New England offensive line, and New England is being very smart in not allowing that to happen. Jacoby Brissett is the crash test dummy here. And the goal for this game and the way we win is quite simply to make this game about that New England offensive line against the Seahawks defensive front. If that matchup goes the way that it should, based off week 1 and based off the preseason, nothing else should matter. That part should be so dominant that New England can't really do anything. They can't run the ball. They can't throw the ball. So as long as that unit brings it, I have confidence that we're going to do enough to win this game. It might be something like 17-9 or 20-9. It could even be something like 13-3. But that part of this Patriots team should be something that you can just mop the floor with by default. So, not worried about their receivers. I think their number one receiver really might be Jalen Polk, who, hey, I love the guy, but he's a rookie. That is not a guy who should be your number one receiver. Kendrick Bourne is out. They got some decent running backs. They got some decent tight ends, but none of that should matter. None of that matters when your offensive line is what the Patriots' offensive line currently is. There's not really any players playing in this game. Cole Strange is out. Cole Strange is out. Even him. And I don't know if he's really even a good player, but he would probably be playing right now if he was healthy, but he's not. So you should be able to chew up and spit out that offensive line. And the answer that I'm expecting the Patriots offense and Jacoby Brissett to potentially have is a lot of very simple stick routes with their tight ends. There was a game that Jacoby Brissett played against Mike McDonald's defense not that long ago when Mike McDonald was in Baltimore, where all Jacoby Brissett did was get the ball out of his hands quickly, get the ball to his tight ends, and it actually worked okay. So that might be the one thing that you need to be thinking about here. I'm sure Brissett knows that he has no offensive line. I'm sure Brissett knows that he's got a real problem up front, and he doesn't really have the receivers that can win even in one-on-one situations. Maybe he'll be able to lean on the running game a little bit, but again, without the offensive line out there, I know they had success last week, but Ramondre Stevenson had to do a lot of that work. He had like 100 yards after contact. So if he can't break tackles, and Seattle did a very good job not allowing a lot of yards after contact or yards after the catch last week, it's not going to fly. So the only thing that New England should really be able to throw at you in this game is very simple and short, like stick routes and curl routes to tight ends. I would anticipate a lot of that. So other than that, I think that should overrule everything else. I don't really know what else I can say about this game beyond that. If you allow this makeshift mash unit, second string, barely NFL caliber offensive line to win a game against you, even with the issues that we have right now, that is very disappointing. I will admit, if we don't have our linebackers, I'll be a little bit concerned about the run defense. You can definitely have linebackers get caught in bad positions, bad situations, because they're I mean, what are we looking at if those guys are out? Are we looking at Tyrese Knight, the rookie, Drake Thomas, who hasn't really done anything in the NFL yet? Okay, yeah, I want my linebackers out there. I need my linebackers out there tomorrow. But that part of this, that aspect where New England has, I think by the end of the year, we will consider New England's offensive line to be the worst in the NFL. that should override pretty much everything else as long as you don't do any stupid mistakes. And we made enough stupid mistakes for one season in that first half of the Denver game. So I'm going with something like 20-9, 20-9 Seahawks. Wouldn't shock me if it was like 17-9 or 13-6, 13-3. It could be an ugly game. I'm ready for an ugly game. I'm cool with an ugly game. Right now, this team needs a little bit of time. Like, you look at the tape from last week. You look at the tape. The play designs are there. The play designs are beautiful. If we can get to a point this season where Geno genuinely has time in the pocket to actually go through his progressions and let things develop down the field, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be phenomenal. But probably not there yet. Probably just not quite there yet. So do what you got to do. Avoid the turnovers. Don't turn it over like you did last week. Don't give the Patriots a bunch of easy points like you did last week. And you should be able to win because Brissett, whatever you want to say about him, he's not a great quarterback. Maybe he's not even good. But he's not going to be as technically and fundamentally unsound as Bo Nix was. Bo Nix last week was kind of a disaster. He did everything wrong in that game until there were like 5 minutes left. And even then, there were a lot of problems with the way he was playing. Brissett's not going to be like that. Brissett's been in this league a long time. He's played a lot of football. He knows what's up. He knows what's good. He knows what to do. I don't think you can count on Brissett giving you a bunch of turnovers and running into sacks and running into pressure and throwing with bad footwork, all that kind of stuff. I wouldn't expect that from Brissett. So if you hand New England the game, they may not hand the game back to you. Okay. I'm feeling okay about it right now. No matter how many issues Seattle has on their offense right now with no running back, no number one running back, no right tackle, I still think New England, with their deficiencies up front on their offense, overrides everything else. But it may be just one of those games where whoever doesn't make a mistake wins, and that's all there is to it. Okay. I will see you guys later today. Go Hawks. We should be getting practice squad elevations in the afternoon. Assuming we do, I'll probably make a video about that. It's a little more interesting this week because of the players that we know we won't have, or highly suspect we won't have. Maybe a little bit of a sheriff. The sheriff is back in town, by the way. Pretty cool. And yeah, let's go get this win. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Get to 2-0. 3-0 is looking very doable if you can get through this game, but this might be a survive game. Survive now, thrive later. Peace out. Go Hawks.